Hello everybody, and welcome to another exciting Copperland adventure. This is a series of videos about living on gold, and it's really three main parts to living on gold. First part is to understand the origins of gold. Second part is to identify where the gold is at. And the third part is about processing gold. Now, with this series, this is really a different kind of approach. We're not going by all the old traditional science colleges and all the geology and all that, because, as we explained earlier, a lot of the geology and a lot of the geologists are just plain wrong. They're just guessing at it. And I can prove they're just guessing at it. I'll show you proofs that they really don't know what they're talking about at least half the time, probably closer to 90% of the time. And they just guess at it. I'm using scientific processes to determine the truth of the matter and to find out what is the truth about where gold comes from and how to get it. So we're introducing a whole new approach. This is an approach you've never heard before, you've never seen before, and it's obvious that not too many people are living on their own gold digging efforts. In fact, I don't know of even one person who lives on their gold digging and processing efforts, except for one guy way up in Alaska, and he puts in a lot of hours. He's putting in like at least 16 hours a day digging gold sands in a gold-bearing region. It's placers up there, placer sands. And he's the only one I know of who regularly can get a couple of ounces per week if he works really hard. And you have to work hard up there while the weather's good. Another guy's up in Nome, Alaska, and he can get some pretty good takes. He claims that he gets sometimes an ounce per day if the weather is right, if the wave action is right, and it threw the gold onto the beach, then he can collect up to maybe an ounce a day. But that's rare. Most people who go out are just doing a hobby approach of get the dry washer out, let's go dry wash some desert sands and have a pig roast or something and have a good time out there. So most of them go out just to feel good about getting out, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I can't afford to do that. You know, the government here does not take care of everybody, in spite of what they say. We do not get Social Security, even though we're way beyond the Social Security age. We don't get any because they said, well, you didn't work hard enough and show enough income when you were younger, so we're not giving any. Well, the hell with that. We tell them, well, screw you, we're going to go out and put together our own work. We're going to start up a new career at 70 years of age, and we're going to go out and do our own work. And frankly, we like the gold area. This is a good career area, but only if you can really figure out, identify how the gold came up, where it's at right now, and what kind of new machinery or systems you need to process enough on a daily basis to make a living. So that's what living on gold is all about. And one of my best talents is to use deductive reasoning. I was way up in like 0.1% in the country as far as deductive reasoning. So I'm using that talent, that's my best talent, to do figuring on what's really going on. You can go to college and you can go to the classes, you can memorize and spit back all the shibboleths, the laws and the rules of geology, but you don't really know those are true. All you know is you're writing them back on your test so you can get a good score, but it doesn't mean that what they're teaching you is correct. It doesn't mean it's the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And we will examine everything from the beginning, like we've been talking about, right up to the beginning of the universe, where everything comes from. We'll show you the science behind it, not stupid chimpanzee stories. You know, you have these historic chimp stories, and like we pointed out, the chimps who were run out of the Copper Country region because their theories didn't hold water went out to Arizona, and they became the professors in Arizona State, and they're teaching geology based on their theories and doctrines. This is religious doctrine. It's not the truth. It's not even science. It's religious doctrines. To give you an example, their highest and holiest law, religious law, is that gold and silver and platinum and all the wonderful metals, copper, everything comes up in hydrothermal solutions. Well, no, it doesn't. Some of it does, like copper salts or silver salts, or if it's a salt, it's soluble in very hot water. Hot water, the hottest water on the planet, is only about 860 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, that's not hot enough to melt metals, or it's not even enough to melt sand. Otherwise, the sands would be melting all the time. You'd have pure metal melting all the time. I guarantee you can take a piece of copper or gold or whatever, even copper. You can bring your water temperatures up to 1,000 or 1,200 degrees, drop that in there, and I guarantee it won't melt. It will not melt. The glass will not melt if you put 1,000 degrees of water in it. If what they're saying is true, then the old geyser in Yellowstone Park, you know, Old Faithful geyser, that thing would be spitting up a treasure mine of gold and silver and jewels, and everything would be coming up. It blows off once an hour on the hour, whatever, how many minutes. But you'd see gold and diamonds all over the place coming out of the old geyser vent. But it just proves that that hot water doesn't do what they're saying. Now, granted, some gold, if it's fine under the earth, if it's really fine under the earth, can ride on steam and hot water to the surface if it's already very, very small particles. But if it's coming from the gold layer that we talked about earlier, the layer of gold that's down in the crust, there's like a gold layer that's actually a globe layer of gold. It's solid gold, it's melted gold, it's solid, molten, but cooled gold by now. Well, hot water isn't going to dissolve that and bring it up. It can't. So, we'll kind of recap where we've come from and try to pull all the pieces together so you can really understand it. We started out with the origins of the universe, and that's when God made the hydrogen atom. Just a single hydrogen atom, and then duplicates of that were fused in larger and larger masses into all the elements in the universe. So it all starts from hydrogen. Hydrogen is the origin of all things. As far as matter goes, everything comes from hydrogen. And it's hydrogen that's fused into the more complicated elements that constitutes the entire universe. So we went from there to showing how the sun, which used to be without planets around it, was hit by kind of a large object. We call them dwarf white stars. They're really small, but they're very dense. Well, that blew through the sun and pulled out all the elements that are in the sun. Now, you've heard these ridiculous doctrines that all of the elements come from different parts of the universe and they impinged on the earth. They fell to the earth as meteorites and all that. That's bullshit. That's a load of crap. And they say, oh, the sun can't possibly manufacture heavy elements. You want to bet? Anything with as much heat and mass of the sun, it's probably manufacturing things man doesn't even know about. It's if it didn't work, if fusion isn't working on the sun, then fusion doesn't work in the hydrogen bomb either. The hydrogen bomb is so much smaller than the sun, but it blows. An atomic explosion sets off a hydrogen fusion explosion, and this is all my background when I was in high school and college. This is all my area, particle physics. I got a handle on all that. But the sun is definitely large enough, has enough mass, enough pressure, enough heat to fuse hydrogen, which is on the surface, into every element known and unknown to man. And that's where the elements came from. They didn't come from asteroids hitting the Earth. If that were true, they'd say, oh, all the carbon, all the water comes from asteroids hitting the Earth. If that's true, why isn't it still doing it? Why don't we have asteroids coming in and blessing us with more fresh water for California and places like that where they have the drought out west? What they need is a great big, a huge meteorite to strike out there and endow them with water to fill up the Hoover Dam. It's total crap. It's bullshit. All of the elements, or almost all of them, there might be 2 or 3 trace elements that rode in on the asteroids from the asteroid belt, but more than likely, even that was already here. The iridium and stuff like that. So, the Earth was formed from the sun, every planet here in the solar system, and all the planets way beyond Pluto. There's a whole belt out there of planets that they're just starting to see with telescopes. A lot of that is the debris that was pulled out of the sun. So the sun is the origin of all the planets by a rifle shot, the rifle shot effect. All the elements we have on the Earth today came from the sun, and they were arranged by God to create the Earth and all of its living systems today. It's that simple. So we know that, now we know where gold comes from. Gold actually came from the sun. It wasn't manufactured here, it came from the sun. And as the Earth cooled, it was cooled into a perfect sphere of concentric spheres of different elements, light elements on the surface, heavier elements down towards the center, and the biggest part, the biggest mass of the Earth is the core. That's iron and nickel. It's the biggest part. You know, the crust is only 12 miles thick. Well, what's the diameter of the Earth? The diameter of the Earth is somewhere around 8,000 miles. Well, 12 miles out of 8,000 miles, that leaves one huge magnetic core, a huge amount of iron and nickel, which, by the way, are not cooling down really fast. They may have cooled down from 30,000 degrees or so, which is your plasma temperature, 30,000, 50,000. Actually, they started out at about 10 million degrees way back. But it's down to, the core is down to about 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's insulated pretty well by the crust, so it isn't cooling really fast. Well, the core is the magma. That's the real magma, meaning fire. It comes from fire. The core takes any other element around it as it's in contact with it and turns it into a metamorphic magma. The only true igneous magma is the core. Now the other elements, like you'll see different minerals like quartz and all your metals and everything, they'll come up in a molten state, but they're metamorphic lava or metamorphic, you could call it metamorphic igneous, but they're metamorphs. They're actually being melted down by the core. And remember, my name is not Jeff. I am not Roger from Oz. I'm Ken from Copperland. And like I'll always tell you, gold turbine products that we're designing and building will transform you magically from a 90-pound gold panning weakling into a beast of a miner. Now, if you want to be a beast of a miner, you want to get that gold, stay tuned. I'm going to show you how to get it. So take care. We'll see you out in the gold fields, and catch you next time on the next video. Bye for now.